Hi, I am so tired. I cannot explain how tired I am. And I have to go to work. Okay, let's put the tea. There we go. I'm gonna sit up. Let me back. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I was gonna try and do like a themed makeup for this, and I even had glitter, but I filmed it. I was supposed to film this yesterday, but I filmed it today, and I have work later, and I didn't really want to put loads of glitter on my face and then it not come off properly and then go to work. And I just, in theory, it was going to be good. In practice, I look like this. If you go on the internet and you follow up-to-date things on the internet, you may have seen that there is a new show that came out on HBO over the last couple of months. It was like an 8-episode show on HBO called Euphoria, and I couldn't watch it weekly in the UK, but now it's come out all at once on the UK, so I binge watched it. And if you follow me for a while and you follow me on other social media, you'll know that I love Zendaya very much. She's just a queen. She's just absolutely killing it at every aspect of life, and she's wonderful. So I'm so tired. Oh my god, speak. Those two things are mixed because Zendaya's in Euphoria, so obviously I was like, I want to watch Euphoria. It sounds really good anyway, but also Zendaya, so I binge watched Euphoria when I was last ill and was just in bed for like 5 days solid, and I absolutely bloody loved it. It is such an amazing show. It had a lot of triggers if unprepared, definitely, and that's definitely something to look out for. There's triggers for abuse, addiction, alcoholism, self-harm, sexuality rape, blackmail, and lots of other things that I would definitely say to look into, but it dealt with these themes so very well. I thought that the whole kind of cast of characters had really good dynamics. There was no perfect character. There was like some worse than others, absolutely, like 100%, but no one was perfect, and there was no black and white. It was all grey, and that's what I really liked. And it was kind of exploring that and exploring yourself and growing up, kind of dealing with all the hardships that come from that, especially in a day and age like now, which is so technology big, and there's so much more pressures than there was like 10-20 years ago. Like, teenagers do deal with these things, and people assume they don't, but they do, and I think it's really important to talk about it because access to things becomes so much more in this life with the access to things on the internet. So I think it's really important that it actually dealt with those things, and I thought that that was really good. So I wanted to share some books that I felt dealt with similar things very well. As usual, per these books fans of insert thing here would like videos, the books are not exact replicas, otherwise what would be the point of Euphoria existing? These books are just similar books that I feel like deal with similar themes or have a similar vibe, or just that I think fans of Euphoria would enjoy. They're not going to be identical. This isn't a list of books that are the same plotline as Euphoria, and they might not even have a very, a similar main character, but the themes are there. You get what I mean. That's what this video is, and I hope that you like it. The first one is It's Kind of a Funny Story by Vizzini. I've spoken about this book before on my channel. I think this book is incredibly important and wonderful. This book focuses on Craig, who is a teenager living in New York City, and he kind of becomes very overwhelmed by pressures and societal pressures and school and everything that he's dealing with. The pressure of school and this really important school that he's gotten into becomes too much. He stops eating and sleeping, and then one night he nearly kills himself. This then gets him checked into a psychiatric hospital, and it is his journey within the hospital to recovery and therapy and the people that he meets in there. This book is very raw and real. Vizzini, when he wrote this book, he took his own experiences from these things and put them into Craig and his journey in this book. This is an incredibly important book. I think that the way that Vizzini wrote stories was so wonderful. The way that he spoke about these really, really important issues and explored what teenagers and people in psychiatric hospitals, what they deal with, is really important. And I think Euphoria does that in a very similar way. Then we have The Exact Opposite of Okay by Laura Stephen. This book focuses on Izzy, who never expected to be thrust into the limelight, but that is done to her in a very negative way when pictures of her and a politician's son surface on the internet, and she gets the backlash. Not him, not the people that leaked photos, her. And this book is an exploration of the way that society treats women, especially on social media, and it is such an important book and deals with these things very well, because if you ever notice, if anything like this ever happens, it's the woman that gets the most stick. No one ever talks about the man in these situations. It's always the woman who gets shamed and kind of put as a target. Is the woman that gets the hate for it. And this book is an amazing exploration of that. Then we have Not Otherwise Specified by Hannah Moskowitz, and this book focuses on Etta, who just doesn't really feel like she fits in anywhere. She is bisexual, so she feels like she's not straight enough or not gay enough. She has an eating disorder, but it's classified as which is like not otherwise specified, which is a type of eating disorder when you don't fit the criteria for anorexia or bulimia, but you have some symptoms of it, and it needs to be something that's taken a little bit more seriously, I think, because everyone you can have an eating disorder and not have lost loads of weight. Like it's not taken as seriously, but it is a disorder. It's called like EDNOS, it's a thing. She has that she's dealing with, and she feels like she doesn't quite fit in because of her body type and her skin colour. And then in her treatment centre, she meets a new girl who is kind of the opposite of everything she is. She's a white Christian girl, and she's it's them meeting and kind of everything from that in this treatment centre, and kind of her growing from there and dealing with these things in her life. And I really love this book. I feel like this is a really, really amazing book of exploration about yourself and also how society perceives you, what society tries to say, and society will try and put you in a box in a certain way, and if you don't necessarily fit into those boxes, it's you that's considered the sort of outsider in that, rather than society shouldn't be making constraints to fit into in the first place. And it's a really, really, really good exploration of self, and I really love this book. Similarly, I have Let's Talk About Love by Claire Kahn. This book focuses on Alice, who is a biromantic asexual, and her ex-girlfriend has just broken up with her for the asexual part of that. So Alice kind of says that she is done with romance and she's just not going to deal with it because this is what's happened, and people don't take the asexual side of her seriously. People don't understand it. People don't even want to try to understand it. Then she meets a new guy, and it's kind of everything from there. I have spoken about this book a lot in the past couple of months. I read it just before Pride Month, and I absolutely loved this book. I really, really love the exploration again of exploration of herself, but also explorations of a sexuality which is, it's not like straight or gay, which is what society still sort of has as a thing. It's that sexuality is not necessarily one way, and she's biromantic, so she can fall in love with men and women, but also she's asexual, and that's definitely a thing. Even if you're asexual, you still aren't necessarily just going to be in love with one gender, it can be other people, and it's a really, really good exploration of that, and an exploration of self and feeling kind of how she feels about that, but then how other people, and coming to terms with it. And it's just a really, really good exploration, and I really, really love this book, and I can't recommend it enough. This one I think is kind of an obvious one. I feel like lots of people would have done this. There's actually a scene in Euphoria where Jules comes out of the sunroof under a tunnel. It's very similar to this scene, to the scene in the movie version of the book I'm going to talk about, but that's The Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky. I feel like this is, again, like, people know about this book, but I did want to talk about it because I did see some similarity. This focuses on Charlie, who is just really trying to fit in at school. He doesn't really have any friends. He sort of feels like he's not really living his life, and he's just watching everyone else live theirs, and it's narrated, this book is in epistolary form, and it's just written to Dear Friend, and it's kind of, Charlie speaks about how he had a friend who killed himself, and he's kind of dealing with that. He's also dealing with past trauma from his family and stuff that's going on, and this book is very, if you've only seen the film, I think the book would surprise you, because the book is so much more I think is the best way to describe that. There is a lot of raw emotion and raw and like things that happen in this book which are so real, really, and Charlie is really dealing with, and that happen to people. And I really love this book. It surprises me every time I think about it just how much I love this book and how important I think this book is. And again, I really love the film too. But yeah, this is definitely one that I feel like if you really liked Euphoria because of the things it speaks about and how well it does that and how important that is, then you'd like this one too. Then we have Girl Man's Up by Emmy Girard, and this book focuses on Pen, who just kind of wants to be who she is, and everyone's telling her how a girl should be, and but she just wants to be who she feels like she is. And why are people telling her she has to be a different way? You know, and if she dresses a certain way, why does that mean that she wants to be a boy? Why can't she just dress that way? Why can't that just be the case? And it's again a really, really amazing exploration of family and who you are and self-expression and what works for you, but how society says that it should be something else. And just a lot of themes that these books have in common is just the way that society perceives certain things, and then the things that teenagers deal with because of that, and kind of the repercussions of that, but then also the pressures that exist when you're a teenager, especially in a day and age like this, which is so technology big. It's just the key theme of this is just to stop being bad, stop feeling bad about who you are. And that episode of Euphoria where they're dancing and they kind of have that moment of like, you know what, just screw everyone else, we're just gonna be us for now. It kind of, I can't explain how that, like, I can't put into words how that felt, but that's very similar. It's a really, really, really just real, authentic debut novel, and I can't recommend it enough. And finally, we have We Are Okay by Nina LaCour. This is about Marin, who hasn't really spoken to anyone since the day she left everything behind, and no one is really aware of why she left in the first place and what she's dealing with. It isn't until her best friend Mabel, who hasn't heard from Marin for ages, comes to visit her, and kind of things start to come out, and they start to kind of, Marin starts to talk about her past and everything she's been dealing with. And this is a really, really, really good exploration of grief and dealing with grief and dealing with yourself within that. And I really love this book. I read this book a couple of times to try and like properly feel how this book felt and kind of the themes in this. I love the way that Nina LaCour writes, but I feel like this is one of her best works in portraying something so raw and so vulnerable in a story, and I really, really love this one too. So yes, so that was some books that I thought fans of Euphoria would really like. If you enjoyed the show, if you enjoyed the themes that the show focuses on and the way that it deals with, I know lots of people were able to relate to the show and they saw themselves in the different characters, then I feel like these books are similar enough in theme. Like I said, they're not always going to be identical, but I feel like the themes are there, the importance is there, and the rawness and realness is there in these books too. I'd love to know any book recommendations that you guys think would be good for fans of Euphoria. As usual, you can leave them in the comments. If you guys are new here, then I make videos a couple of times a week about books and fandomy things, so if you want to stick around and join us, then you can do that. And as usual, all the links to all my other social medias is in the description down below if you want to come hang out with me on there. If you guys are doing really, 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 really well, and I will see you next time. Goodbye!